You're listening to the Government Mule podcast, a production of the Tulsa County Clerk's Office in Oklahoma. So welcome to the latest edition of the Government Mule podcast. I'm honored today to have a guest who is a friend of mine, a mentor, a former boss, and one of our fantastic district judges for the Tulsa District of the state court system, the Honorable William D. LaFortune. Judge, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here.
Yes. So just as a little bit of background for folks that may not know this, so I got hired by Bill when he was mayor of Tulsa back in 2002, and it was really my first real job in local government. I had worked at OU in Norman. I came back, volunteered on his campaign, and we try not to talk too much about politics in this podcast, but really Bill gave me my start actually in local government, and I credit Bill with helping me really find a love for public service and local government. And so I just want to start this off by saying that I will never forget, I was actually talking to our friend Tom Warren yesterday at another event, and I told him that I promised him I would start this off by saying one of my first memories of working on Bill's mayor's campaign was him giving a speech, and we all memorized the stump speech, and it started with, Bill's granddad, Joe LaFortune, came to town with nothing but the shirt on his back.
Absolutely, yeah. We had that down pat.
So, most people who live here in Tulsa know the LaFortune name. They know about LaFortune Park. They know a fair amount of your family's history. But maybe just for the sake of talking about public service, and we call this the Government Mule podcast. You're a great example of a government mule because you've put so much time and many years of your life into public service. Give us a little bit of, you don't have to give us the stump speech, but maybe tell us kind of what you used to tell people when you were talking about your family's history of public service here.
Right. Well, I think that is the whole key to it. Started really with my granddad. His name is J.A. LaFortune, and the park is named after him. But we did have that stump speech, but it was true too. He did come to Tulsa early 1900s with nothing but this shirt on. He was born into a family in South Bend, Indiana, across the street from what was then Notre Dame. It still is Notre Dame, but it was not much at that time in 1898, 1901. He went to World War I, was in the Air Force, and he didn't go overseas, but he was here working planes and things like that. So when the war was over, he married, and he heard about Tulsa. Heard Tulsa was a place a young man could come and make a living, a good living. And so he packed up and moved to Tulsa. It would have been 1910s, something like that, late 1910s. But when he got here, all he did, he didn't know anyone, didn't have any contacts, but he would start at the top of every high-rise then building in Tulsa, and there were some at that time. Well, I guess there were some. But the story was he would start at the top and knock on every door of every office, down every floor, asking for a job. So he finally got a job. And the story really of public service for me is he had 4 children, and they had my dad being one of them. His name was Jay. Buddy LaFortune he never got in politics. He was smart, but he loved the park system.
We have a community center named after him,
at
LaFortune Park.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I appreciate you all, the county officers, doing that. He had 30 years as chairman of the Tulsa County Park Board. Just his love. He loved golf. He loved park, and probably saw that as his legacy too. Mm-hmm. But with those 4 kids, they had 21 grandkids for J.A., and so I was one of the 21. But as a little boy, I saw what he was doing. He would take all 21 of us literally out to LaFortune Park to take photos. And back in the early 1960s, I know everyone watching is going to not believe this, but it's a fact. A fact is a fact. He had a place out in Colorado Springs in the summer. Well, Colorado Springs also has Cheyenne Mountain. Mm-hmm. Cheyenne Mountain has NORAD. NORAD is our North American defense system for missiles. Right. It's buried in the mountain there. Everybody knows it. It's not some sort of secret. But he became friends, of course, with the local generals. Oh, yeah. Again, this is the late 50s, early 60s. I was born in 57, so we would go out there in the summer just for a week or so at a time, and so I would see this going on as a, 5, 6-year-old, 7-year-old. Anyway, they actually donated a missile to LaFortune Park.
Oh, cool.
And it was put out in front of where now is the golf shop.
Yeah.
And it was sat there. And I remember he got us all out there and took a picture in front of the missile in all our best clothes one Sunday. But it's gone, long gone since
Yeah, I don't know
then.
what
But
happened to that
it's
thing.
a little history of fact. Yeah.
Huh.
Could be in some county warehouse.
It might be on our asset or our asset list. I'll have to look and see.
They'd have to have disposed of it somehow.
Huh.
Anyway, so but the public service was, that land was never LaFortune land. That was county land. LaFortune Park was county land, and when he donated the money to build the park and the golf course, they had cattle running on it, I think. They had farming on it.
It was the Tulsa County Poor Farm.
Yeah,
Is
that's
what
what they
that
called
land
it.
was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So really people that were down on their luck, they had a place to go and a good place to live. I remember as a kid, a big red 2-3-story building, and that's where they lived. And then they would work the farm.
Yeah.
And that was the way it worked. But that was, again, that would have been the late 50s, very early 60s, because I think the donation he made to the county was 1957, and I think maybe it was finished by 61, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing at the dates. The only reason I even know that is that the Tulsa World years ago, or maybe it was the Tulsa Tribune, they used to have a little thing called Tulsa Trivia. And when I was mayor, somewhere between 02 and 06, when the Tribune may have still been around, well, maybe they weren't. But I picked it up. Yeah, they were gone by then. But some paper, Miss from the World, had a Tulsa little tiny paragraph, and it said, on this day in 1957, the year I was born, J. LaFortune donated such money to Tulsa County for the park. So that's the first time I had ever seen that. So, I mean, obviously he was very proud of it. But that kind of, what happened was, my granddad was a rags to riches story. There's a book written about it. Classic rags to riches American story. Mm-hmm. I mean, you couldn't get any better. A guy with nothing. He works hard through work ethic, through being gregarious and friendly to people, and having a great attitude towards people and towards life, and a hard work ethic. And what happens?
Yeah.
He gets a job with the Warren family, Warren Petroleum. He becomes vice president. When he's offered a raise, he says, no, I'll take stock instead of a raise. And guess what? Gulf Oil came in, bought out Warren. He made his money. What did he do with it? Well, he took care of his family. But he also gave back to everyone that helped him along the way. And I knew that as a little boy growing up. He gave back to Notre Dame. He became the first chairman of the board, layperson, chairman of the board at Notre Dame. Became great friends of Father Hesburgh, rest in peace, and Father Joyce, rest in peace, at Notre Dame. Gave back to mainly Catholic institutions here in town. And then, of course, the park, the Tulsa County Park. TU, he donated a dorm over there. It's still there, the Fortune dorm. Yeah. I remember getting as a little boy, being dragged out to the groundbreaking for the LaFortune dorm at TU. Yeah. But so I'm very proud of that legacy. But that was kind of what I grew up. And then on the other side, as I got older, my uncle Bob, Robert LaFortune, was street commissioner. Then he ran for mayor and was really just a beloved mayor while I was in high school. Yeah. So I had that example. And so my dad with TU and with the park, my uncle with the mayor, my granddad with all of his charitable activities. I mean, I don't think I was fourth of 5 kids, but I don't think I could have seen anything else but public service around me growing up.
Agree. Yeah. Huge legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob LaFortune, one of the most revered people in probably Tulsa history.
And just passed away a couple of years ago.
Just passed away.
Like 96.
Bless his heart. And was
rest in
active
peace.
until the very end.
Absolutely.
But as far as your path to public service goes, you really cued in probably more so on law enforcement, judicial issues. We've talked about this before there were several years ago, I'd had a conversation with you. We had an opening on the county commission. And I think Karen Keith and I had picked up the phone and called and said, hey, Bill, would you be interested in running for county commissioner? I think you kind of thought about it a little bit and then decided not to. But years later, we talked after you became the district judge, and you kind of mentioned to me this really was like your favorite step in public service. So of all the a lot of people may or may not know. I mean, you did a term as mayor, and I was super fortunate to be on that staff, and we did some really incredible things led by you in Tulsa. But before that, you had been the DA. Before that, you had been an AG, assistant AG, a special judge before that too, I think, and now district judge. Give us some highlights of some of those things you've gotten to do over the years, and maybe talk about, I know it's hard to maybe pick a favorite, but if you had a favorite step in the progression, what might it be?
Well, it started really in law school with my third year. I got a legal internship with David Moss, the then and beloved David Moss, who rest in peace as well, who was a longtime DA. He gave me a spring job my third year, and that really got my interest in public service in that type of a capacity as an assistant DA or somebody in the courthouse. And that really was the beginning of my love for the courthouse. So from there, I graduated law school. I worked at Telex Computer Products for a couple of years as a contract administrator right out of law school. They were booming. Then my real break was with the Attorney General's office in 1987. I got a job as an assistant AG, but it was in Oklahoma City, and I lived in Tulsa, and I had a brand new baby girl, and the wife who didn't want to move to Oklahoma City, and so I commuted for almost 2 years, and then we had another baby girl, and so David Moss called one day and said, "You'd like to come back to Tulsa and stop driving?" The speed limit was 55 back then on the turnpike.
That's pretty slow.
It was rough.
It's a long drive.
It was rough.
Because you always drove 55.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, definitely within the law, though,
Yep.
within the parameters. But that was my real break in the state capitol. Robert Henry was the AG. I got to meet so many people then that were lawyers as well. And so that was a great opportunity. I came back as an assistant DA. And then about 2 years later, Robert Henry called and said, "How would you like to open up the Attorney General's office in Tulsa?" Which I promised you could do years ago, but now I can do it. Would you want to do it still? And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I waited a long time for that opportunity. Yeah. So I took it, and we opened it. It was just myself and an assistant, administrative assistant, and it now has multiple attorneys, multiple investigators, and multi-county grand jury unit, and the whole thing, which I also started. When I was with the AG's office, I started the whole multi-county petition and convening of it in conjunction with Robert Henry. So that was kind of something that in my past, and nobody really knows that I did, but I did. And that's why we have the multi-county grand jury today as a tool for law enforcement. So from there, I came back, DA's office and AG's office, opened that up. We did 3 years there, and there was an opening for a special judge. So I took it. I applied. And I got it. Thank you, Lord. But I got that job, and I loved it. I was doing preliminary hearings for a year or so. And then the DA job came open because we had the horrible tragedy of David Moss having a heart attack on Thanksgiving weekend in 1995. So I did apply for DA. Governor Keating was the governor, Frank Keating, and he appointed me as DA. And I did that for almost 3 years. Got a great offer at Norman Wogamuth to be a partner, taking over Charles Norman, the zoning czar's business. Hard to pass up for a young lawyer with kids, and a third kid by then, and a boy. And it was just a great opportunity for the family financially, so I took it. Did that for 3 or 4 years, but that old political bug hit me. Susan Savage announced she wasn't going to run again after 10 years, and it was an opening. She did a year out, so it opened up that office for a year for anybody that wanted to put their name in, Mm-hmm. I got encouraged to do it, and I did it, and we started running, and Michael got involved. We had a really fun campaign the first time. We really did. I mean, we worked hard, and we canvassed everything. We just had a good time. We were very successful with it, and I really, mayor is a tough job, because in Tulsa, you're the chief executive, and you're also the city manager. Well, you're the chief executive, and you're also the economic head. Mm-hmm. So you're the guy. And see, in Oklahoma City, all Mayor Holt has to do is worry about bringing in new business, get a new arena for the NBA team, all those kind of efforts. He's not managing the public works, the police department, the fire department.
The day-to-day operations of the city.
He's just not doing it.
Yeah.
So we have a different form of government, and it's a tough job for any mayor, but I was honored to have it, honored to have you on my staff. We had a great staff, and we did do a lot of great things. So after that was over in 2006, I just went back to practicing law, and for many years, actually. And then there was an opening for district judge. And you asked me originally, the original question was, what's your favorite job? It was always being a judge. I love being a judge. Maybe because from a big family, I'm used to arguments. I don't mind hearing arguments all day.
You can be the arbiter.
Right.
Arguments.
Yeah, I really love people. I love being a trial judge. That's why I haven't never applied for an appellate job, which I could have done the last several years, but I haven't. I love jury trials. I love seeing our citizens. And it's just a great job. And it's got reelected, thank you, Lord, and citizens.
Yes.
For that. So I'm looking forward to that another 4 years, and then we'll see where I'm at that time. But it's just a great job. I love the citizens when they come in as jurors. I've had great feedback I run into them. What's great about being a district judge, or any judge really, is, we live in this town, and it's the smallest big city in America, as you know. Yeah. And I'll be at a grocery store and my khaki shorts on a Saturday and a T-shirt and sandals maybe, and here comes somebody tapping me on the back of my shoulder saying, "Hi, I was a juror in one of your cases." Oh, really? And it happens a lot. Yeah, it happens a lot. So, I work out at the health zone, and there's a lady that walks the track, and I saw her for weeks walking the track, and she stopped me one day and said, "I just want to introduce myself. I was a juror in one of your cases." Oh, nice to meet you. No, she's a friend, that I see at the health zone. So that's really, being a judge is a great job. I love it. It's by far my favorite job.
So a lot of people probably don't really understand. I mean, even folks that are kind of close to the judicial system, like I'm not that close, but just right across the street. And I've been a reserve police officer and now sheriff's deputy for quite a few years. So, I mean, I have some contact with the legal system, but a lot of people don't really know what really does a judge do? I mean, yes, you conduct jury trials and you preside over those proceedings, but maybe give us a snapshot of what the average person might not know about what a judge actually does.
Yeah, one of the first things I would say right off the bat is then I'll tell you what they do, but is the caseload in state court is extremely heavy. So we have 6 civil judges, and each one of us has around 700 plus pending cases. Each one of us does on any given day. Now, we're not handling 700 cases in a day, but that's a pretty heavy caseload. So what a judge does in Tulsa County District Court kind of depends on what docket they have. So the first 4 years I had as a district judge, I had a full-time felony criminal docket. And so, for example, on a Monday morning, I would have 120 cases to dispose of that day. That's that kind of load you have in criminal. So the criminal felony judges are handling murders and every other kind of felony, and they take pleas, a lot of pleas, right? A lot of plea bargains, because, I mean, the DA files 11,000 or whatever they file a year cases. And how many criminal judges do we have? Well, we only have like 4 full-time felony judges. So they're handling all those cases through pleas or trials. Now, we have about 13 district judges and about 13 special judges. The special judges are hired by us. So we have openings, then we have applications, we interviews, and we hire somebody. They serve at the pleasure of us. Now, we're elected, so all of us are in the same cycle. Every 4 years, the same cycle as the governor and the state office, because we're state officers. Right. You're a county officer, we're state officers. Right. And that's just for the DA's office, and the judges are state officers. The public defenders are county, and everything. But everything else is county. County clerk, the county court clerk, Don Newberry. So special judges, they're really the ones in the real trenches. They're doing the protective order dockets. They're doing arraignments, setting bonds, which is a heavy docket. They're doing preliminary hearings. So every felony case has to go through the preliminary hearing docket before it goes up to a district judge like me. Mental health, guardianships, all those things where the citizens really are coming down to the courthouse and needing relief on something. Special judges handle most of those. The districts are doing, because there's a limit in jurisdiction. The special judges can only do so many things.
Right.
Like they can't handle a case over $10,000 at issue. We have to do that. They have full jurisdiction in divorce. That's another area special judges primarily in. We have a district that is a chief of that division, but most of them are special judges.
At the family division.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And that's its own animal. I mean, like I'm chief of the civil division this year. That doesn't entail a whole lot, except that I've got to make sure my special judges, there's a civil special judge, the mental health special judge, the small claim. Now, here's another example. One of the hotter issues in the city the last several years is the FED docket. You know, the small claims, forceful, you know, the people getting, landlords moving people out of their homes. And so we moved those out to the juvenile court building a few years back during COVID. They're still out there. It's a really great resource out there. We have the judge, of course, that handles them, but they have a lot of resources out there. You know, Tulsa County Bar has an office, Legal Aid has an office, Still She Rises has an office. And because of you all, the county officers, allowing us to be there at all, we're able to have more space. We didn't have any space in the courthouse to have all those agencies to provide services to the citizens.
Wraparound services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a wraparound deal across the street there, too.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of the division, how we divide it up. There's a presiding judge right now. It's David Gooten. I was a presiding judge. I was lucky enough to be a presiding judge during COVID, not. But
we got to work together a fair amount during
Yes, we
that
did,
and trying to tackle some of the issues that we were having to deal with during the pandemic situation. You know, you mentioned a couple times mental health judges, and I plan on bringing in Judge Nightingale and Erica Jeffords at some point because they've been great. I think they're a great resource. But maybe talk a little bit about and give a little snapshot of how great of a mental health and specialty courts program we have here in Tulsa.
it's really interesting. Great question. Back in I was a special judge from 1993 to 1995, late 95. And when I was in preliminary hearings and arraignments as a special judge, Judge Brad Griffith, who was a colleague and down there with me at the time, the drug court idea came up. And we started the drug court way back then. And that was the first alternative court. And so really drug court's been around quite a while. He took it on and he did a great job with it and really got it going to where it meant something. You know, there was a lot of, not angst, but a lot of discussion about how it would work. You know, did the DA like it? Did the DA have to sign off on it? And originally that was the way it was, and it still is to some degree. But over the years, drug court continued. A DUI court developed, and a mental health court developed, and a veterans court developed.
Yes.
And so now we have all these alternative courts presided over by one special judge and one district judge, Rebecca Nightingale. And she's handled it for many years now. And she's retiring, so somebody else is going to have to take that over. I think a lot of judges will want to do that because it's such a great community. You really get to see people change their lives and transform their lives. And, you know, when they have those graduation ceremonies, drug court's not easy. You know, I want the citizens to know nobody's getting just like a slap on the wrist. If you want to avoid prison and to go to drug court in lieu of prison, or even women in recovery, you'll hear women in recovery. Those are agencies in lieu of prison. So you've probably got a record already. You're headed to prison on your new charge. You got this opportunity. Drug court, extremely hard. They're monitored, drug tested, ankle monitored, watched, have to be on time they have a lot of obligations to get to graduation. Same for all the other alternative courts. So it's not like a pass. It is a rigorous program that works. And it's so difficult that a lot of people do drop out of it. And they just say, I'd just rather go to prison. That's that hard. But it just changes lives. And anyone that ever has an opportunity to go to a graduation ceremony, I bet you have, it's just so uplifting. Because what you see is a person that had a drug or alcohol issue, severe, and now they've worked out of it. And guess what? When they had lost their spouse and kids, mother, father, at the graduation ceremony, you see all those people there. Same with women in recovery.
Yeah.
And it's just uplifting because now they're reunited with their kids and their family.
Yeah, we've actually talked a little bit about this on this podcast before. I think when I was talking with our county treasurer, John Fothergill, about the county's budget. So a lot of people don't know or recognize the difference. You talked about this earlier. You all are a state agency. The county is charged with providing space for the judicial system here, and we certainly have a partnership, but the county doesn't tell the judges what to do, and the judges don't tell the county what to do, not all the time anyway. And
there's some interesting discussions sometimes.
Yes, but one thing that a lot of people don't recognize is Tulsa County has put quite a bit of money into investing into the alternative courts program here, and one of the many reasons why, I mean, number one, I would say just what you talked about, seeing people improve their lives, get back on track, be good, productive, tax-paying citizens again is certainly a driver for us at the county. But also, it has a positive impact on our criminal justice system and the jail load. You know, we have a 2,000-bed jail, which you're very familiar with, and the more people we can keep out of that jail, the better. And one of the better ways we can do that is getting people on these alternative programs, especially if they don't have, you know, a history of violent crime or major crimes against other people. And if we can keep them out of jail and the prison system, it's a good thing for the county, it's a good thing for the state, good thing for everybody involved. So,
absolutely. You know, one of the things too, unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of drug treatment, you know, in DOC, Department of Corrections, when they're in prison. So they're really going to go there and just get out without any kind of treatment or rehabilitation, and probably go right back to what they were doing. So that's another issue why it's so much more beneficial. And again, I'm not I'm not one of these guys that's soft on crime at all. I think most people would say that I'm pretty tough on violent criminals. And but these people are generally, what I've seen in them is they're only sitting there because of alcohol or drugs. That's why they're sitting there. And with women, it's usually the guys getting them in trouble. You know, you don't see women with violent crime hardly ever. What you see is drug offenses, or maybe they were in a burglary situation or that kind of a thing. But that's where you can really do a lot of good.
yeah. What do you see in the next 5 years as things like artificial intelligence and other things start to impact the community and really all of our jobs? I mean, it's going to affect my job as county clerk, but just societal changes. What do you see kind of happening from the judicial system and the legal side of things over the next several years?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think AI is affecting so many aspects of society all across the board right now, and everybody's scurrying around trying to figure it out, where it's headed and what's going to happen. Absolutely, has it hit the courts? Absolutely. And how are we're grappling with it right now. I mean, even our Oklahoma Supreme Court just did an order a couple of weeks ago that basically said, don't worry about it. Just keep doing your job. But we, as judges here, have talked about it a lot. I mean, some federal judges have put in place orders that you have to identify if you used it. And I think that's a fair thing to say. Like, if you're going to use it, at least put in your brief or your motion that you're filing with the court that this includes AI-generated citations. Because what we're finding is AI will generate citations of authority on a certain legal issue in a brief that's given to a judge. The judge looks at the citation and finds out it's not even related to that case. So you got to be really careful with it. So we're grappling with how to deal with it, what to do with it. Where we're seeing a lot of it is in criminal cases, if you're indigent, you get a public defender. Civil cases, we don't have that ability. So, and then people, if I want to represent myself, if I wasn't a lawyer, if I was not a non-lawyer, I can represent myself and sue somebody or defend my case. That's called pro se. and we have a lot of pro se cases. So that's where we're seeing the AI. They're using AI to produce these briefs. And so
it's easier than going to the law library.
Oh my gosh.
And digging up that stuff on your own if you can just ask the question.
So it's a big issue right now with the courts, and I don't have a definitive answer on what we're going to do with it yet.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a bit. So you talked when we first started and talking about public service. You mentioned your family.
Mm-hmm.
You have a remarkable direct family that I got to know back in the campaign days of the mayor's office. In fact, I think my second or third day volunteering on your campaign, I've actually told this story in a public forum before too.
Really?
This is funny because in 2001 and 2 during the mayoral campaign, we had a group of, and I became one of these drivers, one of Bill's drivers, and in fact, not long after your cousin, G.T. Bynum, was elected and started serving as mayor, someone called and asked me if I would introduce G.T. at some sort of thing. And I'm like, well, sure. G.T. and I are friends. I've known him since we were campaigning together for Bill back in the day. And so I stood up and I introduced G.T. and I said, the way I got to know G.T. is that we were both Bill's drivers. And the way I even got plugged into that is that the regular driver on the day that I was in the campaign office stuffing envelopes called in and couldn't make it. You had a really busy schedule that day, and you really needed someone to help kind of propel you along.
I'm remembering this now.
And so one cold day, I showed up. I mean, I needed some sort of dress clothes. I didn't even have dress clothes with me. I think I went home and put on a polo shirt or something, and someone gave me your address. I showed up to your house, and I'm waiting in the driveway. I'm like, I don't think we'd even met before.
Oh, really?
And so I knocked on your door, and I think maybe Kathy answered the door, and I said, hi, my name is Michael Willis. Tom and the campaign team sent me over to pick up Bill and take him on his route today. And she's like, okay. And Kathy was, of course, very nice. But then you came out, and we had a great day, and we kind of became friends after that day. But through that, I got to know your family.
Yes.
And there was actually one time I think that I went over and ended up picking up either Olivia or Billy, and you had a dog in crisis, and I think I had to take him to the vet or something. But
probably
became good friends with your family. But talk about your family. Long way to get around that.
No, it's that's funny because in 01, I'm trying to think what the ages would have been. Billy would have been, the girls were, I think, when I ran the first time, they were ninth grade, and then Billy would have been more like a sixth grader maybe or something like that.
Yeah,
so he was very active at our campaign at the time too, if you remember. But no, we were blessed with, like I said, when I was, we got married in 86, and I'm sorry, 82. I'm sorry, Kathy, 82, and then our first child was born in 86. About the time I got that first job. So when I started commuting, Kathy was home alone with this baby, taking care of it when I was going back and forth. And like I said, within 13 months, we had a second girl, Olivia, who your daughter's named.
Yes, my daughter's named Olivia as well.
It's a great name. Yeah. Back then, in 2000, what was that? She was born in January 21st. Billy was 10/1/92. Jackie's 11/3/86. 1/21/88. Got it. See, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
my three kids.
Yeah.
January 21st.
And
88.
I put you on the spot, so
no, I was worried that I wouldn't come through here on the air. That for Olivia wouldn't like this. She probably would see this podcast. No, so Olivia was born just 13 months later. So we had these two little girls, and then we really were settled with the two little girls. We thought that was going to be the way. Kathy always wanted a boy. She was one of two girls in her family, so she never had been around a little boy growing up. Always wanted a little boy. And this is a great story, actually. So if Livy's born in 88, and we're now confined to the fact, in fact, we don't even have a room for a third kid in our house. We're confined to the two girls, and we're happy with the two girls. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I came home one day, though, out of the blue, and I found a little baseball cap on our bed that Kathy had left, my wife, Kathy. What did that mean, a little baseball boy? We were going to have a boy. And that was Billy. So that was how I found out about him. But nice. Billy is now Jackie is our oldest, is in Denver. She works in the park system there, the city parks. And then Olivia is a federal probation worker in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, I follow her on the socials. Yeah,
there you go. And Billy is a lawyer with DLA Piper out in San Diego doing mergers and acquisitions, and had our first grandbaby.
Yes,
my legacy. It's William David LaFortune III, but they call him Trip.
Nice,
Trippy, TRIPP.
And you all go visit them when you can,
as much as I can afford to in California.
Yeah,
I didn't do it a lot of it. And all of a sudden, I've kind of looked at my bank accounts for the last year. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, maybe. Since Billy's making the big bucks, maybe have him start coming back this way.
Exactly. Yeah, we'd love to have him move back this way eventually.
Yeah, they're great kids.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Thanks
getting
for
to
asking.
know them.
Yeah.
Well, what else do you have? Anything you want to talk about today?
Well, not really. I mean, things are at the courthouse. Things are rocking along. It's summertime, so we don't have any jury trials again until September. Again, those are limited by the amount of money that the state has and how many jury trials we pay jurors. Obviously, they don't get paid a lot, but they get paid. Mm-hmm. So it costs us a certain amount of money. I think that's an interesting thing. Jurors and jury duty is always an issue. So if you get a summons for jury duty and you have a conflict, all you have to do is call the court administrator. Now, you're not going to get out of it, but you'll get a deferment to a date that you can come down and do it. So it's, if people think they can get out of it, they really can't, unless there's some, I guess, medical issue probably. Certain seniors can get out, but they just still need to call the court administrator saying, I'm a certain age and I don't want to. But what I find with seniors is they do want to serve. Most people want to serve. And we send out about 700, something like that, summons for a jury week. How many people actually come down and obey the summons? I'll let you guess.
On average, I would say maybe close to half.
Yeah, something like that. 300.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, every time, if I have
do the other 400 get bench warrants issued for them?
That'd be.
They could. But they don't.
They could.
Yeah.
The mail thing too. They're not being served personally. A lot of legal gymnastics, I think, to do that. But I always tell the ones that come in so if I have, it depends what kind of case I have. If it's a heavy duty case, I might call 45 people in the court. If I have a car wreck case, I might call 25 people in. Either way, first thing I tell them is, you're the good ones. I tell them exactly what I just said. We send out 700, we get half. You're the half. You're the ones that are the good ones. You care. Mm-hmm. You care about, because without you, we don't have a system. We don't have a system. And we do have, whatever way you want to criticize it, go ahead. It's still the best judicial system in the world. All you got to do is look around. And we're not controlled by, we make our decisions independently. Mm-hmm. I tell them that too. And any of these conspiracy theorists and all this about this or that, and we're all, no. I've been doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. No one's ever told me how to decide a case.
Right.
Or pressured me. Never. So there's no kind of, everyone works hard. They got heavy caseloads. They do their own thing. We do talk to each other about issues maybe, but not a lot. We have a meeting once every couple of months, but that's how we work.
You mentioned ruling on cases and juries. And this is probably also a common misconception or something people don't know how it works. And I really don't know all that much either, but, you preside over plenty of jury cases in a year, but you also preside over plenty of cases that don't necessarily have juries, right?
Absolutely.
And so when it comes to, if you're on the criminal side, and I know you're not doing that today, but when you were on the criminal docket, how does it work with regard to sentencing? When does a jury make a sentence? When does a judge weigh in on that sentence? I know there are parameters out there. A lot of people may not know that, but kind of talk to us just a little bit about that before we get wrapped up.
It's a great question. In Oklahoma, our juries sentence. They recommend, formally it's called recommending the sentence. It's the jury's so in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, a jury's going to hear, say it's a robbery with a dangerous weapon. Trial. Jury hears it. They deliberate. they're given instructions by the judge about what the range of punishment is if they find the defendant guilty. So they know what the range is. And if they find him guilty, they're going to pick a number. And they're going to come out with the verdict form and say, guilty, and we recommend punishment at 10 years. Now, then the judge gets it. Now it's in the judge's hand to sentence the defendant. Now, there is something called a pre-sentence investigation. Certain violent crimes are going to get a pre-sentence investigation, so they'll set sentencings that must always set off. There's some judges that want to do it right there, that day, right there, in front of the jury. I don't do that. I've always passed sentencing off, either for a PSI or just to pass it off a little while to get everything in order properly rather than rushing it at the end of a trial and possibly making a mistake. I just don't do that way. So when it comes time for sentencing, what authority do I have? Do I have an authority to overrule the jury? No. I basically have to follow that recommendation. I do have one bit of authority. I can suspend part of it. So it's hardly ever done. I mean, I don't ever want to invade the province of a jury. I did have a rape case once where, and to go on all the facts, but it was really young guys that just, man, it was a lot of bad choices by everybody involved. We had a trial. Jury came back. And in Oklahoma, rape still carries life without parole. It's still an option. I gave it to him. Now, what did I do with that? Well, I immediately started getting letters from all the family members about these boys. Mm-hmm. You just, this is outrageous. I mean, yes, what they did was horrible and wrong, but they've never had any history, and they're 18 years old. So I thought about all that, and we had our sentencing hearing, and the DA was saying, you can't change it, Judge. You can't do anything different. I was like, I don't know. I might. I'm not sure. If I wanted to, but I haven't heard what everybody has to say yet. So we had our hearing. I heard all the aunts of the boys and everybody come up and talk about it. So I ended up going ahead and giving them life instead of life without parole. That was the only variation I think I've ever done on sentencing because it was such a unique situation. And if I had time to give it through all the facts, you'd understand why. But the DA did not appeal it. He said I didn't have the authority to do it, but apparently I did because I didn't appeal it.
Life with parole comes with, what's that, a 20-year?
Yeah, it's set at
general?
40. So if you get a life sentence, we advise the juries that means 45 years that they're eligible for parole. There's a real misunderstanding out there. It's not that they get out in 45 years. It's that they're eligible for parole. They might get out within 45 years. If they're not, they will serve the entire life sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And that's, back when I was a DA, I got 32,000-year verdicts on rape guys that I personally prosecuted. How did I get 32,000 years? You can't do that anymore. Back then, if a felon...
Aren't you a record holder? You used to be the record holder.
Still the record
right?
holder. Oh, absolutely. There'll never be another 32,000 years.
Yeah.
When I was DA, I personally prosecuted a horrible rape case against two guys, and I got 32,000 years total. But back then, if a felon had 2 or more prior felonies, so they're walking around the streets, they're felons, they've had 2 prior convictions, they go rob somebody. Now they got a new charge. The new charge, under the old rules, if you're convicted, the jury can sentence you to no less than 20, which opened the whole range up to thousands. And
right.
Juries that were not happy with the defendant, like in my case,
on the years.
Yeah. For example, I think they gave him 1,500 years just on one count of grand larceny in that case.
Yeah.
So they're not happy.
Yeah,
it was a horrible case, though.
Yeah.
And the victim in that case, she's written a book. Her name's Penny Stuckey. She wouldn't mind me saying. She's written a book about her whole ordeal. She basically was rammed off the road here in Tulsa and kidnapped, and horrible things happened after that. And this is like pre-DNA. She was such a great witness that she convinced that jury of all those things that happened to her. just by her own testimony.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Penny Stuckey.
Penny
I'll check out
Stuckey.
that
She
book.
wrote a book. Yeah, absolutely. I want to get it. I haven't gotten it. I want to see what she said about me.
Yeah.
Because I was her prosecutor.
Yeah.
Me and Brett Swab. Brett
Okay.
Swab and I did it together. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap this thing up. We've gone almost 45 minutes now.
Well, I've enjoyed it.
And let's do this again one of these
Absolutely.
days. Yeah.
We'll reconnect.
We'll reconnect and maybe talk about some other fun stuff.
Absolutely. Sure.
So, wrapping up, just to recap, we've had the Honorable William D. LaFortune, Bill LaFortune, District Judge for the Tulsa District Court. I'm Michael Willis, your Tulsa County Clerk. This is the Government Mule podcast, and we'll be back to you with another episode coming up real soon, I'm sure. Thanks very much for listening, and thanks again to Judge LaFortune.
Thank you.